There's rain, and then there's rain. Formula One bosses wouldn't postpone the Brazilian Grand Prix, would they? Think how disappointed the fans would be with that native sun on the pole. I guess if it did rain out, the five-time world champ could at least find something to do.
And far to the north, we're serving up some dust. Winged sprint cars in Alabama, non-wing warriors in California, and high-flying with the dirt track modifieds.
The World Championship of Motorcycle Road Racing gets off to a wild start in Japan, while the AMA Superbike Brigade brings the speed to California.
Hey, rain or shine, no changes here. Speed News starts now. Halfway home on a Sunday and just hitting high gear. Welcome to Speed News Sunday. I'm Rick Benjamin.
And I'm Dave Despain, here to tell you about one of the truly bizarre days in the history of Formula One. It began with a downpour that delayed the start and ended in what might reasonably be called a debacle. NASCAR got a lot of heat last week for their goofy race back to the caution routine and the scoring confusion it caused in Texas. But I'll tell you, that was a masterpiece of organization compared to what happened today at the end of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Let's take the craziness in the order that it happened. It was actually the day's second downpour that started the race behind the safety car. An odd result of the new tire rule is that everyone's on intermediates. Sorry, no full wets available. And when it went green, the suitability of Michelin's intermediate was superior. David Coulthard pounces on the pole sitter, Brazilian Rubens Barrichello, disappointing the huge home crowd. Now, the crashes came thick and fast. Brazilian rookie Antonio Pizzonia finds Juan Pablo Montoya already playing trackside barrier. Water is still streaming across this corner, and the next guy to slip in it, Michael Schumacher. Five-time world champ suffers his first DNF since Germany 2001. Huge in terms of the championship. Jenson Button, one of 7 guys to auger in at one of the track's few unnamed corners. Figure a couple million per car, you could call this a $10 million junkyard. Crash 8 there was narrowly avoided. Mark Webber performs what we talking heads like to call a nice piece of driving. As the track dries, Barrichello's Bridgestones come in, and to the delight of the crowd, he blows off Coulthard, and then the Ferrari just stopped. Fuel system problems, they say, an eerie replay of last year, and he's thinking, what do I have to do to win my home Grand Prix? That is sad. Leader pits. Coulthard surrenders the lead to teammate Kimi Räikkönen, who makes a mistake, and believe it or not, Giancarlo Fisichella in the Jordan goes past the McLaren Mercedes to the lead. Webber again, this time he can't save it. He will knock 3 corners off the car and cover the track with debris, red flag. But let's say the system was a little slow to respond. 1 minute later, Fernando Alonso takes this bone-jarring hit. He roared in there wide open. 1 minute. Unbelievable. Spanish youngster managed a thumbs up. He's actually okay. The race is declared over, so Fisichella thinks he scored the upset of the century, but the rule book says scoring reverts not 1 lap, but 2. Eddie Jordan, his team making its 200th start, has an inkling. Sure enough, the guy who made the big mistake, Räikkönen, wins. The guy who took advantage of it, Fisichella, is second, and the third-place finisher is in the X-ray room. Perhaps another rule or 2 need review. Here are the results. Webber, whose huge crash started the closing craziness, scored 7th. First time since '99, European GP, Ferrari has scored no points, and that is a race the Railbirds will talk about for years to come.
So a very busy day, and after the soggy checkers fell, our Peter Windsor tried to sort it all out for us.
For a few minutes, it looked like a fairy tale ending to the Brazilian Grand Prix. In their 200th race, Jordan thought they'd won the race with Giancarlo Fisichella. But alas, red flag 2 laps before. The winner was Kimi Räikkönen for West McLaren Mercedes, his 2nd win in a row. First win in Malaysia, now 2 in a row. It's easy.
Well, hopefully 3 in a row, but now we do our best, and it seems to go in a good way. And we has been, even on yesterday we were quick, and even on wet conditions we seems to be quick, and it looks good.
So inevitably one had to ask a disappointed Giancarlo Fisichella what it felt like, even for a few minutes, to win a Grand Prix.
the best moment in my life after when my children are born. It was fantastic, amazing, but unfortunately was not more than two minutes.
World champion Michael Schumacher was one of many drivers to leave the road through a stream of water through Interlagos' turn 3. He was flying at the time, but I asked Michael why it was that he'd left the road at that moment.
In the aquaplaning, I was not really on the maximum going, but if you hit the pedal, you can go much slower and still you go off. I mean, that's a problem of aquaplaning, which it exists in Formula 1 as we do the speed we do.
Raikkonen's teammate David Coulthard was leading easily as he came in for a pit stop just before the red. As a result, he finished 4th, a very disappointed 4th.
Situation is such that you never like to see a red flag for a driver. A big accident. Glad to see that Alonso appears to be okay, and then you reflect on what could have been.
As Michael Schumacher said, this was indeed the last Grand Prix for the F2002 Ferrari. From here on in, it's new territory for Schumacher and his teammate Rubens Barrichello, who today surely should have won his home Grand Prix.
No one could have imagined it would turn out like this. 3 races into the season, here's how the points bed looks. Raikkonen, with his 2 straight victories, builds the championship lead, 11 now. Ralf Schumacher rounds out the first 8 among the drivers. Coulthard is second in the fight for the Constructors' Championship. Well, it's McLaren over Renault and Ferrari, based on those 2 wins by Kimi. F1 heads next to Imola in 2 weeks, and you will see it all, of course, right here.
It is the emotional return of a fallen hero, Alex Zanardi, coming back to Lausitzring, the track where he lost his legs in that horrendous crash, to serve as Grand Marshal for the kart race. It was supposed to happen last year, but that race was canceled. It will happen next month, May 11th, and I expect Alex will be showing his old kart buddies his photographs of him skiing. Quite a guy. And on the heels of the Road America difficulties, here's good news about the kart series and real road racing. CART has extended its sanctioning agreement with Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca through 2004, with options through 06. The Monterey, California road course has been a fixture on the kart schedule since Teo Fabi won the first one there in 1983. A year later, 84, the Long Beach Grand Prix switched from Formula 1 to kart, and next week's 20th annual race through the streets lives here on Speed. Our coverage starts Saturday afternoon, 4:30 Eastern. Final qualifying, Toyota Atlantic, Sunday at 1:30. Champ cars cap the weekend, Sunday at 4.
IndyCar teams pack up and ship out for the first ever IRL race on foreign soil. We'll chat with drivers getting set for Motegi.
And the Outlaws and the All-Stars renew their friendly feud when they share the bill in Alabama. Sprint car highlights coming up on Speed News.
The latest Formula One news is brought to you by BMW.
Well, the IRL's IndyCar drivers and teams are on their way across the Pacific for the first time ever. High stakes indeed for the IRL's run next weekend at Motegi, Japan. It's Honda's home racetrack, and Honda never was able to win there when CART held 4th at that circuit. Some top IRL drivers tell us that previous knowledge at Motegi could be key.
I don't know. I think maybe having been to Japan a little maybe helps. I don't know. The circuit, you know, with an oval, you sort of pick it up fairly quick anyway. I think, you know, it's good knowing that you have been there before, but, you know, if you hadn't, I don't think it'd be a huge disadvantage.
The only driver that's, you know, been there in an IRL car, but, you know, a lot of the guys have been there in the kart cars and, you know what it's like. So, plus we're in last year's car, so, you know, we'll pretty much be starting from scratch, but we gotta, you know, we're confident about every track that we go to.
I think we have a little bit of an idea what to expect, where some of these teams that weren't there won't have that experience, and it'll be nice to have a little bit over some of them because they've been having it over us. So from that standpoint, I think it's good.
It's a new equipment, different equipment that we're used to, so we're probably gonna go flat out, and Champ Car we will be able to downshift that place, so it's gonna be a little bit different, but any information that you know already always helps. Strategy in the race might help. And again, that track is very fast, you know, it's wide. I'm sure you're going to see turn 1 and 2 people going crazy, 3 wide probably, because those cars are able to do that. So it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, no shortage of enthusiasm there. His teammate next week will be Alex Barron. Team Penske will take advantage of the changes wrought by the Phoenix injury to Gilles de Ferran. We told you last week how Barron would fill in at Motegi. Tim Cindric says the captain squad will use a Panos G-Force chassis for the first time there as well. G-Force will be the car of choice, has become the car of choice, really, among IRL front runners with the new rules package. Penske has used Dallara thus far, but they'll use next week's 300-miler at Motegi. Barron will drive the Panos-built race car to evaluate how it runs. Kelly Racing is added to the entry list for the Indy 500 Memorial Day weekend. Kelly will run a third car as planned for Tony Renna. Renna filled in for Al Unser Jr. last year. The car will be backed by the Cure Autism Now Foundation and Home Med Pharmacy. Renna ran 6 races for Kelly last year. His best run, a 4th at Michigan.
Now, we hope this isn't going to become a trend. Saturday night's USAC National Sprint opener at Eldora Raceway, Eldora Speedway actually, rained out. That event was supposed to be showcased on USAC Thursday, this week on Speed. Last month, the midget opener at Ventura also rained out, also scheduled to be a TV race. As it turns out, the Thunder and Lightning division opened this afternoon at Indiana's Anderson Speedway. After 50 laps of sprint car racing, Aaron Pierce grabbed the checkers. This is the 4th Glenn Nibel Classic. He led all but 1 lap. Runner-up J.J. Yaley went to the front on the 43rd tour. Fast qualifier Jay Drake got upside down about halfway, but was okay. Levi Jones, Bobby East, and the reigning series champ Tracy Hines rounding out your top 5. And at the appropriately named Thunder Bowl in Tulare, California, some great SCRA sprint car action last night. First guy in the spotlight, the red number 50. Watch Richard the Gas Man Griffin get that thing turned down under Rip Williams to challenge for the 2nd spot. The Ripper didn't give up easily, but the Gas Man beat Gone. Gone, in fact, after the black 45 of the leader, Damian Gardner, behind 2-lap cars. The lead changes hands, but it's not for the final time, and those are not the last 2 lappers we'll see. 5 laps later, in traffic, watch Griffin go high and Gardner low with lappers ahead. Which is the better strategy? Well, they both get balked a little, but Griffin a little more. Gardner makes the pass that wins the race and puts a period on the elbows up action for tonight. That's good stuff.
You know, the Dirt Modifieds always involve plenty of rough and tumble action. We'll have it for you.
Also ahead, Motorcycle Mania, MotoGP World Championship action. How about those Ducatis? How about Hayden? How about the AMA Superbikes completing their doubleheader in California? Indeed, Speed Channel presenting the Driver of the Year award. You saw the first quarter nominees zooming by there for review. Winston Cuthbert, Matt Kenseth, and Kurt Busch. Kart's Paul Tracy. IndyCar's Tony Kanaan, NHRA's Brandon Bernstein, and the Daytona 500 winner Michael Waltrip, along with the World of Outlaw sprint car driver Danny Lasowski. You cast your vote on the website. SpeedTV.com is the place. The first quarter winners to be revealed on Saturday, April the 19th, right here on Speed News. And the process will continue each quarter, leading to the crowning of the 37th Driver of the Year.
More sprint cars for you tonight. The advent of the 1,200-pound weight rule coming into this year means that more and more touring sprint car teams that use wings can race in a variety of places. It's also allowed the World of Outlaws and the All-Stars to team up a few times this year, like this weekend at the Talladega Short Track, not too far from the big superspeedway in Alabama. Last night's AMA and Danny Lasowski fresh from an IROC ride at the big track, alongside Mark Kinzer on the front row. The Dude and Tony Stewart's 20 would lead the first 6 trips. Two-time champion Kinzer able to get by on the high side here on lap 7. Mark would lead through the 12th lap. Good battle for third. Darren Pittman in the blue 21 and the King, Steve Kinzer. Pittman will get the spot for a while. Up front, Lasowski and Mark Kinzer in a dogfight. On the 13th lap, though, the Dude takes the measure of Carl's son. And it was Danny's day or night. Pittman would make a late bid for second, but he cannot get by Mark. In fact, he would spin as they battle through lap traffic. Pittman ends up 9th. Everyone chases the Dude. The Kinzer cousins trail last night at the Talladega Short Track.
Dirt Modified big block doubleheader last night. Lowe's Motor Speedway Dirt Track. Steve Payne is a former series champ, and on lap 17 of 50, he took the yellow number 7 under the outside pole sitter Kevin Boland and took a lead he never relinquished. Billy Decker came from 8th to finish 2nd, and Doug Hoffman pushed Boland back to 4th. But maybe that's good, because in the second half of the doubleheader, they invert the top 4, and Boland starts on the pole. But I want you to watch the air show as Gary Tompkins flies over the top of Bobby Varon. The concern is for Varon 5 minutes before they could get him out, and he could give the crowd a big wave. The roll cage was all bent in was the problem. He was okay. The first race winner, Payne, passing 3 cars in one corner, but couldn't get to Boland, who led every lap en route to his very first Advanced Auto Parts Series win. Decker and Hoffman had the same finishes in both races.
Great racing in the dirt modifieds. Time to look ahead now at what's going to race ahead this week.
Indeed, we're going to check out the Advanced Auto Parts racing calendar.
Time for us to tackle some two-wheeled fun.
And we have it in abundance, Rick, beginning with the MotoGP season opener in Japan. 4 Americans now in the series, 2 new manufacturers making their debut. Today's Japanese Grand Prix, eagerly anticipated. And for Ducati's new Desmos Adichie V4, it got off to a great start. They qualified midfield in the rain on Friday, but race day was all sunshine. And as the field takes the green, you're going to want to watch the far left-hand side of your screen for the red bike. Loris Capirossi from 15th to 3rd by the first turn and to the lead by the end of Ducati's very first racing lap. Wow. And when world champ Valentino Rossi took a shot at him, it was a little tight. Then came disaster. Daihiro Kato suffered a serious head injury. He remains comatose in a Japanese hospital. The other Ducati guy, Troy Bayliss, had a scary moment. Camel Honda rider Toru Ukawa got this pass all wrong. Toru's okay. So, is the Duck as fast as the all-conquering Honda? No. First Rossi and then the other Camel Honda rider, Max Biaggi, go through, both on top speed. The Americans, that's Colin Edwards, 6th on the new Aprilia, chased by Honda rookie Nicky Hayden, who crashed in qualifying and had come from 23rd on the grid. And a lot further back, Suzuki teammates, John Hopkins and Kenny Roberts Jr. still way short on horsepower, toured together to 13th and 14th. Too bad. Nicky passed Colin at one point. Remember Edwards' frustration that Hayden got the good Honda and he didn't. Some things don't change, though. Rossi beats Biaggi. Ducati is a dazzling 3rd. Edwards got back around Nicky. And we go to the 250 class, where from 23rd to first place, Manuel Poggiali was the hero. First guy to win his first 250 GP start since Jimmy Felice at Laguna in 1988.
Now AMA Superbikes at Fontana, a doubleheader. The winner of yesterday's race by 15 seconds on the pole today, Matt Mladen in the 66. But he jumped the start. Black flag dropped to 8th up front. Lap 9, Curtis Roberts in the 80. Gets by race leader Aaron Yates. Nice move on the outside. Bostrom in 3rd. First and second start to battle. There's trouble as they pull away from the field. Yates goes down while in 3rd, and Larry Pegram will dump his bike in the same corner. They red flag the race because there's oil on the track. Restarting with 10 to go, Eric Bostrom jumps to the lead. Curtis Roberts right on his back wheel. On lap 16, Bostrom gets a good lead going, but Mladen on a tear finally puts his 66 bike where it belongs. And Matt Mladen will score the doubleheader win, taking both events. Bostrom and Roberts fill out the podium. Also at Fontana, today's Super Sport run. Tommy Hayden would get to the front quickly, but by the end of lap 1, keep your eye on Jamie Hacking. He was swooped by Hayden, and Hacking was unstoppable this morning. Good move coming up lap 8. Damon Buckmaster chasing Hayden. He will make the pass in the banking. Aaron Gobert is Buckmaster's teammate, giving him fits. They battle for 2nd and 3rd and swap the spot till Gobert grabs the position on the final lap. Also, as they run to the checkers, Hayden gets around Buckmaster for 3rd. Up front, though, all Jamie Hacking, Gobert, and Hayden are next in line.
Finally, the THQ AMA Supercross Series. Chad Reed beat Ricky Carmichael for the 3rd race in a row last night. Pontiac, Michigan keeps the points interesting, though Carmichael doesn't need wins at this point to clinch the championship. 125 class, Ivan Tedesco won. Mike Brown crashed but finished 3rd. Not enough to salvage the Eastern Regional Championship. And Brandon Jesseman also crashed. He finished 6th, but that was good enough to clinch the title.
One of the great sports car racers of the 90s has died. 43-year-old Fermín Velez passing away this week after a lengthy bout with cancer. Velez from Barcelona, Spain, won Sebring in 1995 and 97. He was IMSA's World Sports Car Champion those 2 years. Besides that Sebring success, Velez ran well at Le Mans a couple of times. He helped the Doyle Risi Ferrari team run 8th overall in 1998. They won LMP that year. Velez drove for Andy Evans' team Scandia in the IRL for a time, finishing 10th at Indy in 1997. He was also the FIA's World Sports Car C2 champ in 87 and 89. Velez debuted in the old Kemmel GT Series with a lights win at Miami in 1990. Fermín Velez died Monday in Spain, 3 days before turning 44.
Speed News is brought to you by Circuit City. We know the excitement you feel about the latest digital toys. That's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you. And by Smooth Bush Beer and easy drinking Bush Light. Head for the mountains of Bush.
Funny car legend John Force has accumulated a ton of NHRA records. Add Ironman to the list. This weekend's NHRA Powerade Tour event at Las Vegas marks the 304th consecutive race for which Force has qualified, albeit 14th in a 16-car field. He broke Pro Stock veteran Warren Johnson's record. Force last missed the cut at the season's finale in 1987. Here are your results from the final rounds just in. Larry Dixon, the point leader in Top Fuel, extends his lead. Greg Anderson, same story in Pro Stock. He leads the points. Tony Pedregon beat Force in the first round in Funny Car and then went on to win in the final, beating Whit Bazemore.
And finally tonight, recognize this guy? We've just learned that after crashing out today in Brazil, Michael Schumacher immediately announced his retirement, applied for citizenship, and joined the Brazilian soccer team. No, just kidding. This was actually before the race. He really can't play, but there's no reason to believe that Michael is considering any sort of a career change. I'm surprised he would risk his driving career by doing that.
I would think that's
Well, that's all the fun we're allowed this week. Thanks for riding along with us. I'm Rick Benjamin.
And I'm Dave Despain. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next Saturday and Sunday nights.